Right, now this will tell us. And that's pretty conclusive. Still going. Close. I think he got it down.
How strong is he?
Welcome back to the Pick and Go podcast, your one-stop shop for all things rugby union and in particular Super Rugby. Unfortunately, just me in the studio down here in Wellington today. We were hoping to have Piri Wipu, and he did make an effort to be here, but unfortunately he had to, just get away a wee bit sooner, and he wanted to. I think he's off to could be some sort of reunion, maybe around the World Cup. We'll find out next week when he is back, but one person we do have is former All Black Steve Devine from up north. Steve, welcome back in.
Yeah, cheers, Paulie. Good to be here. It's pretty disappointing we're not going to get Petty's tips for the weekend, but hey, we'll have to soldier on, eh?
Yes, I'm surprised that you're not wearing your Moneymaker shirt because from the looks of what happened over the weekend, you must have had a fairly successful one in terms of punting.
Well, of course it was responsibly, but mate, it was a good weekend. The Western Force, I picked the upset and money in the bank.
And boy, they were significant outsiders as well against the Reds, but we'll touch on that very, very soon.
I don't think it's fair to all the listeners that you guys picked the Crusaders at $1.02, and I keep throwing it out there and get the Force at $4.20. But you keep doing you, mate.
I think I'm trying to think back to who Pity had. I'm pretty sure Pity had the Drua plus 23.5 against the Crusaders, which didn't look likely right from the outset. In fact, I think Cody Taylor just about outscored the Drua all by himself. We will touch on those games very, very soon. I thought we would continue with our draft. Of course, last week we picked our fullback, our two wingers, our centre and our second 5'8", and we came to an agreement on which players would be in the Pick and Go's first All Black team of the season. So now we move on to the 10 jersey, the first 5'8", the halfback and the loose forward trio. So I think, Steve, why don't we start with the first 5'8", and look, there's a number of players who have put their hands up. Now, we're not going to include Richie Mo'unga because he's not eligible for the first test of the season. So when you look at the 10 jersey, are you looking at someone like a D-Mac? Are you going with a Beauden Barrett, or have you got someone else, a wild card like a Josh Jacob?
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of D-Mac this year, to be fair, and what he has played, a lot of it's been at 15. So for me, Bodie Barrett has come back in pretty good touch with the Blues. He's been a big difference, him running the ship at 10. So for me right now, Bodie Barrett, and I think number 2's probably got to be Josh Jacob as a bolter to be brought into those ranks to cover that 10 position.
Yeah, well, look, it's hard to disagree with you, but I think I might anyway. But in terms of Josh Jacob, he really has stepped up his game this season. I know we're how many weeks in? 7, 8 weeks in. He's really, really looked very, very good every time he's had the opportunity. We haven't mentioned Ruben Love, who I'm not sure if the selectors see him more as a fullback as opposed to a first 5'8", or more of a utility player, but he's been playing well since he's been back from injury. But yeah, okay. But I think to make things simple, I will go with Bodie Barrett. So our selection for first 5'8" to play in the first test match of the season is Beauden Barrett for the Pick and Go All Black team. Is the halfback an easy one, Steve?
Yeah, I think that's probably Cam Roygaard's probably got that sewn up if he's fit and available.
If you look past him, who's the next cab off the rank? It's pretty stacked sort of lineup in behind Cam Roygaard.
Yeah, I think there's probably a competition to see how it goes later in the season into semi-finals and finals and that sort of thing. But Cortez Radima's got to be there. Finlay Christie's got to be there pretty close, and also Hotham from the Crusaders. So I sort of feel like whoever team goes deep into the competition is probably likely to get the nod in as the backup to Cam Roigard.
Yeah. I thought the number 9 jersey would be fairly straightforward, so no surprises. Cam Roigard will be wearing the black 9, or the black jersey with the 9 on the back in the first test match of the season for us here at Pick and Go. Now, things might start to get a wee bit more murkier as we move into the loose forward trio, Steve. We'll start with the number 8, and it just depends on, I guess, who you want to put where. Is that the case?
Yeah, listen, it's a bit of a tough one, and there are all sorts of number 8s. So I have Satidi if he's fit. We haven't seen a lot from him this year. He's got a slight hamstring niggle, but my understanding he could be back this week or next. And then I think you can pick any number of the Hurricanes loose forward trio at 8. Like they're all playing good footy. Flanders, Luce. It's a toss of the coin, really. And any one of those loose forward trios from Hurricanes, I'm comfortable with playing at 8. Peter Lakai.
I sort of agree with you in terms of Satidi. Just haven't seen enough of him this. So I'm just going off what we've seen so far, and I would probably put Peter Lakai at the back of the scrum for the first test of the season. Now, if Satidi comes out and he starts in the next week or two and then he goes absolutely guns blazing, then we could change that. But at the moment, I've got Peter Lakai at number 8. So if I've got Lakai,
To make it easy for you, mate, I agree with that. I have no qualms with any of those loose forwards at 8. So yeah, Lakai works for me.
What about the Highlanders? Their loose forward trio have been operating very, very efficiently.
Yep. No, we've got a good number of back rows around the country. Even Jacobson from the Chiefs, Dalton Papali'i, even like there's multiple Rampling even for the Blues is playing pretty good footy. So I'm comfortable with any or all of them.
And we just saw the Crusaders put up a big score against the Drua on the weekend. And do we still talk about a Blackadder or someone from that Crusaders loose forward trio?
Yeah, Lilo Willie would probably be my pick at number 8 if we were going down the line. But like I said, man, they're just stacked, right? The country is pretty stacked for impressive back rolls, and I guess they all deserve a chance at some stage. And let's hope they get a chance. Any one of those players, I feel they're playing good enough footy to deserve a test spot.
So who are we going to go? I'll let you make this decision. Who's going to wear the number 7 jersey for the picking All Black
number
team?
7?
Yeah,
the number 7 or number 8?
Numbers. Well, are we having Peter Lakai in number 8 or?
Okay, we'll stay with Peter Lakai at number 8. I'm happy with that.
Okay, and who are we going to have in the 7 jersey then?
Artie
Severe? Easy?
Yeah.
Right, that leaves the 6 jersey.
Yeah.
And it just depends on which way you want to go here once again. Do you have any sort of front runner who's slightly ahead of the others?
Listen, I always feel like New Zealand rugby, the All Blacks are at their best when we have a big, angry number 6. And so this is a huge position for me where we need to get a bit of dominance back, I feel. And gee, I watched that Chiefs game on the weekend, and Finau was he carried hard with the ball. He put a couple of massive hits on. I know he's still a kid and he's got a lot of growing to do, but gee, I like where he's headed. I just, that hard edge. We haven't had a Jerome Kino or a Liam Squire for a few years, and I just think this could be the kid to do it for us.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you're trying to design a number 6, then you're probably looking at a Jerome Kino, and as you say, we haven't had him. Hadn't had him for a few years, but I think Finau certainly has the ability to grow into that position. So I'm happy with that as well. So for this episode, we've gone with Beauden Barrett in the number 10, Cam Roigard number 9, Peter Larkai number 8, Artie Savia number 7, and Finau in the number 6 jersey.
Yep, I'm pretty comfortable with that.
Nice. Okay. Well, that was
And
easy.
that didn't take too long. I thought that might take a bit more. There's some big positions there, right?
Well, yeah, I thought the loose forward trio might sort of trip us up. And I think if we had someone else here sitting with us discussing it, it probably would have created a few arguments. But we've got that. No, I'm happy with what we've come up with. But, yeah, it'd be very, very interesting to see who that first loose forward trio is when Dave Rennie does name his first squad of the year. Right. Let's have a look back at last week's games, and only 3 games last week, but, well, there was a few points scored. And, of course, they said goodbye to Apollo Project Stadium down in Christchurch. They said goodbye in style, though, Steve.
Yeah, that was impressive. I think it wasn't a cold Christchurch night either. It was pretty mild. I thought the Fijians might enjoy a bit more mild temperatures than what they're used to in Christchurch, but no, they didn't. They didn't start well, and Crusaders just too fast. I think too big, too strong, too fast, and then when it got clinical towards the end, Cody Taylor came into his own and got 4 tries. So I said actually just before kickoff, I realised it was his 150th match, and I said to the people in the room, "Gee, you'd be silly not to put him on for a couple of tries at least," and he got 4. So, yeah, impressive. Old school Crusaders performance.
It was very much so, wasn't it? Yeah. They just totally dominated the Drua, and the Drua did score a couple of very nice tries, but they were never in this game basically from the opening whistle. That Crusaders team really did dominate. That forward pack was superb, I thought. And off the back of that, of course, Cody Taylor scores 4 tries. 4 tries. I mean, that's an occasion when a winger scores 4 tries, but when a hooker does it, that's huge.
Yeah, I think they went wide quite early, and then the Fijians allowed for that to happen, and then they got beat up front by the forwards and Cody Taylor going through the middle. So yeah, it was a dominant performance. And you guys must have been all pretty happy because you tipped them at $1.08 or something like that last week. Well done.
What, the Crusaders? I think they were around $1.04
Yeah.
when we were talking last week at this time. But they were minus 23.5, and there were plenty of punters who jumped on minus 23.5. So they could see it coming. The big farewell, a big emotional game, as you say, 150th for Cody Taylor, and he put on a performance that was thoroughly deserving of someone who has played 150 games for the Crusaders. And that's the only home ground that he's played at. The the temporary stadium is the only one that he's played at for the Crusaders, which is amazing.
That's quite unbelievable, isn't it, really?
4 tries is crazy. But how many did they score? Was it?
I think it was 10.
10 tries. And Will Jordan doesn't score 1.
He went very close a couple of times. Did you have him for try scorer?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So
he got tripped. He sort of got half tripped a couple of occasions where he was so close to the line and should have.
Yeah. No, I do know that. Yeah. No, I saw that. Yeah.
You really throw the odds out there, eh? The competition's leading try scorer and the Crusaders at $1.04.
Didn't I take the minus 23.5 or something? I took them 13 and over at about $1.25. So yeah, nothing like you're forced to win at $4.20, but I'll get there one day.
One day, mate. Just you got to dream big, I think.
The next game from last week was the Chiefs taking on the Waratahs, and after that, good performance from the Waratahs against the Brumbies a week before. I guess some people expected them to be a wee bit better than they were, but the Chiefs were dominant against that Waratahs side, putting 40 points on them.
Yeah, the Chiefs were good. The Chiefs look good. I think, it's one of their better performances this year. They're just that forward pack starting to get that momentum back, which they had from last year. I think with a lot of All Blacks coming in late, they are a bit slower at the start of the season, but yeah, they're starting to look very, very dominant. And then, they run on some reserves that are pretty high class as well. So pretty good pack, pretty good squad the Chiefs have, and just far too dominant for the Waratahs, who, when they get it right, can be very good, but also they can be very bad at times. And yeah, didn't have a lot of flair. I think if you shut down a few of their outside backs, they tend to be pretty slow, but never really look like winning. Chiefs forwards just too big and too strong.
And they're scary because they've got some players to come back, as you mentioned before, Wallace Satiti to come back into and slot into that loose forward trio somewhere. They've got a couple of halfbacks that they can switch around if they want to. And in the back line, they've got a whole heap of speed and strength out wide. And it's just, once again, it's a matter of who they leave out as to who they put in.
Yeah, I think DMAC even to come back into that team yet. So, yeah, a lot of talent, maybe too much talent. Josh Jacob probably playing his best footy so far. He's had a couple of great games, some huge run meters. So things are looking good in Hamilton for the Chiefs.
The final game, and this is a game that you would have been very, very happy with, the Force heading to Queensland and really putting one on the Reds, 42-19. Not too many teams head to Queensland and put 40 points on the Reds, but if you look at the way the game shaped, the Force were just a step ahead in just about every single department, Steve.
Yeah, that was a great game of footy. I just think that the Force, when they can be quite structured, and when they're able to keep their structure, they're pretty competitive, let's say. But yeah, the Reds were a long way off from where they should be. I just thought they were, a little bit of inexperience. They just weren't. They weren't the Reds team. They were trying to play that expansive style of footy, but the Force just too good to shut them down. I think they're quite a technical team, the Force, and when they get it right, based around their set piece and rolling mauls, but when they get it right, they're pretty good. They won the forward domination. They got on top of the Reds and allowed their backs to do a bit of damage out wide as well. So well done to the Force, and just a little bit disappointed. I didn't have them at 13 plus. I had them 1 to 12
Exactly.
at $5.80, but they must have been like close to $7 for 13 plus, I thought.
No, they were around 11 or 12 bucks, I'm pretty sure, for 13 and over.
Wow. That's a miss. That's a miss right there, Paulie.
Huge missed opportunity. You say the forwards were very, very good for the Force, and we have a look at the Argentinian lock, Molina.
Yeah.
Scoring a hat-trick. Cody Taylor scores 4, and then a lock scores a hat-trick. What's more impressive, the lock scoring the hat-trick or the hooker scoring 4?
Cody Taylor's, 2 of them were from the back of a rolling maul, so let's be honest, he didn't have to do a lot of work. The lock's last try, sort of in the last minute of the game, he must have ran, 15 meters in the 22, carried the ball up and just keep beating defenders, bouncing them off, and then rumbled over the line.
He carried a few over the line with him.
Yeah, he's a big boy. But that was, it was good to see the forwards having a bit of a rumble. I just feel with all those Aussie teams, if you get on top of them up front, they tend to struggle. And, the Force got on top of them up front, and the Reds didn't really have a lot.
No, they did. Fantastic. I don't remember a lock scoring a hat-trick. I don't know if you were part of a team where a lock scored a hat-trick.
I thought you were going to say I don't remember you being a lock, and you're right, Paulie. I did jump in a line out once, and I'm a long way off being a lock.
Did they lift you?
Yeah, they did. They did lift me. Just it was a one-man lifter at the front.
Did you
Yeah,
secure
but
the ball?
I did. I won the ball, and that was the first and only time we did it. But hey, it worked. We should have done it more, I reckon. Too pretty to be a loft.
Yeah, I'll agree with you, Steve. Don't worry about it. Right. Just 3 games from last week. Right, I've got a question for you. I added this question in late. With it being UFC on this week and Carlos Ulberg taking part, I wanted to ask you around 3 different UFC fighters. Instead of a rugby player who would make a good UFC fighter, I want you to tell me where these 3 UFC fighters would play if they were rugby players. So first one, obviously, Carlos Ulberg. What position would he play?
Well, I've been. My partner has informed me that he is very pretty. So,
So he's a
so
half.
he's got to be.
Is he
No, he's got to be a 10.
a
Sure,
10?
he's got to be a 10. Yeah. What is about 95 kilos? He's a 10 for sure.
He's just got a very, very solid look about him. And when I say solid, I mean he's cut to pieces, to be fair. So I think we
He's
would probably use him either in the 12 or the 13 jersey for mine.
he's
I-
certainly built. He's certainly built like a halfback, mate. But maybe just a little bit too pretty.
So Carlos Ulberg for you in the 10 jersey. I think I'm going to have him. I'll probably have him at second 5 where we could smash it up and maybe just get a few scratches on that face. Just, I don't know. Right.
You'd be a brave man to put a scratch on that face, wouldn't you?
I'm not. Okay, next fighter, Israel Adesanya. What position would he play?
I had him as a winger, fast, rangy. I see him jumping around a bit, so jumping to take the ball in the air. I had him as a winger, fast winger.
Yeah, I was tossing up between fullback and open side flanker. I thought he would want to be in amongst it all the time. I would have thought, and at fullback, I thought he'd probably be away from the play too often. I think he'd really want to get in amongst it. So I thought off the side of the scrum, he'd just be. He'd be the first one to the breakdown every single time, I think, and he would really, really get under the skin of the opposition as well. So he'd be, when they sit in the scrum, he'd be having a bit of a chat to the opposition, and a little bit in the middle of a maul or a ruck. He'd also be, he might even put a cheap little shot in there as well. So yeah, I had him in closer to the action on the side of the scrum.
I had it for the banter. I thought he might have been too much for a referee and too close. Because I imagine he'd be giving out a fair bit. So maybe we might need to, for discipline reasons, we might need to push him out to a little bit further away from the ball.
Keep him away from the ref.
Yeah.
Although to be fair, Patrick, he had a few things to say to the ref when he was captain.
Yeah. Although I wouldn't mind seeing a referee getting tapped out.
Right. We'll move on. Final UFC fight. John Jones. Where would John Jones play if he was a rugby player?
He is my big angry All Black number 6.
Yeah.
And he just let him do his thing. And if there is anyone got any angry business to get done, then we just put him in there and let him do his thing. And I would suggest there might be people sleeping at ruck time from opposition.
They always say you need a wee bit of mongrel in a forward pack, and he would definitely be that. And I don't think there'd be too many fisticuffs from the opposition if he was on the side of the pack. There would be, it would be more like just a wee bit of holding, pushing. That's about it. No, nothing else. Not when John Jones is around.
Yeah, you'd be a brave boy, all right.
Yeah. Okay, one other question in terms of the UFC. What UFC fighter do you think could make it in rugby union?
What? I like little France.
Carter France?
Yeah, I reckon he'd be a good little halfback.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right there, actually. He'd be, in fact, it wouldn't surprise me if he used to play halfback when he was growing up. I'm not sure if he ever did, but he does look like the sort of player. And he'd be that player that once, I don't know, he sort of reminds me of you, that he'd be certainly having a bit of a yap to the opposition, letting them know what was going on, let the referee know when he got it wrong as well. So I don't mind that, actually, Kaikara France.
That was my job, Paulie. I had to do that. I didn't want to do that, but I had to do that.
I'll tell you what, you did it well. You did it well, Steve. It was almost like you were born to do it.
I think also being a bit littler, he's got a pretty good jaw on him. He probably will be able to mix it with those big boys now, rather than like my jaw that crumbled and I got knocked out every other week. So, but he'd be good a little halfback.
I'll go back to Carlos Ulberg. I think he looks like first of all, he could probably go the 80 minutes. He could take a whole heap of knocks and get back up again straight away. I really do like him in that 12 or 13 jersey. So Carlos Ulberg for me, Kaikara France for Steve Devine as UFC players who would make it as rugby players. Should we have a look at this week's games? Because there are a few more. We don't have 3 this week. We've got a full slate of Super Rugby games.
Some big matches too, Paulie.
Some huge matchups. If I go to the first game, and I'll just bring up the odds. I think the boys had already put them out, seeing as we had a long weekend. Yes. Friday night, the Highlanders host the Brumbies. Brumbies, of course, had the bye last week. The Highlanders $1.70. In fact, both teams had the bye. Highlanders $1.77. Brumbies $2. The Highlanders are half a point favourites here, and the total set at 57.5. So what are you expecting off two teams that are coming fresh off a bye?
Yeah, mate. For me, this is a toss of a coin. This one's going to be tight. It could go either way. Highlanders at home are always tough. Brumbies, I think their last match was disappointing by their own standards. I really feel like they all feel disappointed with that loss to the Reds. Also the loss to the Waratahs. So they've had a couple in a row. I feel the Brumbies, when they get it right, are very set piece dominated. They play, uptight, and then they release the backs. Mate, this could go either way for me. This is one that I would keep away from if I was a betting man. I just feel like it's too hard. Maybe Highlanders at home, or maybe Mate, I'll go the underdogs. I'll go Brumbies.
So do you see this as a fairly tight game, a low-scoring game? The total is set at, 57.5. Do you see this as a couple of two teams who are evenly matched, who sort of blank each other out, and tries may be very, very hard to come by? Or do you see it more as a free-flowing encounter, and this could really open up, and we could see, something like a 30-odd to a 20-odd score?
I don't think. I think it'll be too tight. The Highlanders won't be giving a lot away. They tend to turn up at home, turn up hard for each other. So I feel it'll be hotly contested. I don't think it's going to be that big open flowing game. So yeah, points will probably be at a premium. It's really got that. Both teams are pretty desperate to win this. I think it's got that real test match feel about it, where points will be about on the premium. You're going to have to take your points when you need it. That's a tight battle, that one. There won't be a lot of points, I wouldn't think.
Second game of the round, and Moana Pacifica are up against the Chiefs. Moana Pacifica $15 to win this game. The Chiefs $1. Chiefs are 30. That's 3-0. 30.5 point favourites against Moana Pacifica. The game total is set at 68.5. You'd expect the bulk of those points to come from the Chiefs, I'm guessing, Steve. But look, you predicted the upset last week. I'm guessing this isn't going to be the upset for this week.
No, the only upset would be you not picking them for your head-to-head this week at $1, Paulie. That'll be the only upset. No, Chiefs will be. It'll be a hiding. This could be 100.
Does it matter who the Chiefs put on the field if they decide to rest a few players, or do they have the depth there where it doesn't really matter?
I feel the only chance Moana have if the Chiefs bus breaks down and they have to actually run to North Harbour Stadium from Hamilton. I feel that's the only chance they got. Moana are in all sorts. You know, they've got a couple of big forwards, but the Chiefs have got a whole pack of big forwards. So I don't see this going well for Moana. I think the speed and the width the Chiefs play with is just going to be too big, too dominant, regardless of who they play.
Okay. The next game, we head to Saturday afternoon, later on Saturday afternoon, and the Fijian Drua up against the Force. And interesting odds here. The Drua, who had almost 70 points put on them last weekend, are favourites against a team who put 40 points on the Reds last weekend. The Drua, $1.52 favourite. Force, $2.45. They're 4.5-point underdogs, the Force, and the game total is set at 57.5. I guess, how do you see this game going? It's amazing that a team that got done by almost 70 points, or had almost had 70 points put on them, are now $1.52 favourite this weekend.
Yeah, the TB are finally starting to listen about the draw at home. And, mate, I've actually picked this for a draw at $21. I just think if the Force get it right and can keep their structure, the Fijians hate playing structured game, and I feel that's how the Blues beat them. Every time so far they keep it really structured. I think the Force can bring their structure. I think the Force are probably a better team, but the Fijians at home, you got to take into that factor. This one's going to be real tight, and I've picked a draw at $21.
Does the weather come into this much? Obviously, if they've had a bit of rain this season when playing in Fiji, the Drua, does that help or hinder them?
Well, I think currently right now there's a cyclone in Fiji. So, but that should pass by weekend, and it's looking like it's going to be pretty good weather, but it probably still quite humid and muggy and wet. I just think, yeah, I know how good. I don't often bet against the Fijians at home, but I just feel like this Western Force team just can hold their structure. I think they're a real possibility of getting this one done or getting close. Fijians to score a late try to draw it up, I reckon, is how it's going to play, because that's how the Fijians do it.
Wow, $21 for a draw. Okay. Saturday night, we've got how's this for a matchup? My Hurricanes up against your Blues, Steve. $1.47 on the Canes. The Blues, $2.60. That really must interest you quite a bit. They're 6.5-point underdog, 5.5-point underdogs, the Hurricanes. The game total set at 56.5. Both of these teams fresh up as well off the bye last week. So, which way are you going, Steve? What team impresses you more?
The Hurricanes impressed me the most, mate. I like I said last week, I think they're my favourites to take the comp out. I just know the Blues have had a bit of edge. I don't think the Hurricanes have beaten the Blues for the last couple of years. I think the Blues just have that, if they can hold that structure. Bodie will be playing. If they can just hold that structure, they might be able to hang on. So I've got the Hurricanes to win this at home. Hurricanes score 50 points every week. It's going to be a big ask for the Blues. They're so dominant across the field. The Blues only hope, and if any team's going to be able to do it, if they hold their structure, keep it tight, keep it in good positions on the field, Bodie will be able to lead them around. I just think it might be won and lost at that 10 position, or who takes control of the match a little bit better. So I feel the Hurricanes are probably going too well across the board, but if any team's going to upset them, it's going to be the Blues, with their trying to hold some structure against them. Because you let them play that open, free-flowing footy, you're in for a tough night at the office. So the Blues will be pretty confident to try and shut them down. And but I just think the Hurricanes are going to be too good.
Is that a wee bit of a reversal of roles in terms of the Blues and the Hurricanes? Were the Blues more of a free-flowing team? I'm trying to think back to when you were playing, Steve, where you obviously had a solid forward pack, but you certainly, if I remember correctly, you didn't mind throwing the ball around.
Yeah, no, we threw it around heaps. We had the thoughts of you may as well go down swinging. If you may as well go down the way you want to play, than try and play tight rugby. We just backed ourselves to get the ball into space. But I feel under Stern Vern, the Blues are a bit of a different side. They rate themselves up front. It's been a bit of a more forward orientated type match with structure. And if they can do that, and it's proven over the last couple of seasons where I think they've beaten the Hurricanes in the last 4 games. The Hurricanes don't like that structure. They want it open. They want it fast flowing. And if the Blues can just hold their structure, they're a good chance. So um, that's what the Blues will be trying to do, and the Hurricanes will be trying to run it from everywhere. I feel the more they can make it like a game of touch, the better the Hurricanes will be for it.
Teams haven't been named as we record right now, but there will inevitably be a number of fascinating matchups. I think if Ruben Love is in the 10 jersey, will he be playing opposite Bodie Barrett? The halfbacks, is it Roygard against Christie?
Christie.
Yeah. So which one of those matchups really has you excited?
Oh, all of them. Even the outside backs, the wingers, Caleb, like the back rows. I just think, yeah, I think the Blues will enjoy the underdog status as well. Down there, it's just across the board. Like Billy and Geordie have been playing so well together, getting time and space. Roygard, it's the match of the competition so far. I really feel like the Hurricanes are the deserved favourites. They score tries from anywhere and everywhere, and they really understand how they're trying to play footy this year, and they're probably not quite as loose as they have been. Like in maybe last year, at times they tried to play the razzle dazzle, and they didn't pull it off all the time. I just feel they're a lot steadier team this year, the Hurricanes, and I'm looking forward to the number 10 battle. I think whoever wins that number 10 battle his team will probably win the match.
Oh, let's move on to the final game of the round. It's Saturday night, late in Queensland, and the Reds, hoping to bounce back from a couple of losses. They are a $2.50 outsider at home. The Crusaders, off that big win and that farewell to Apollo Project Stadium. Of course, they've got another game in Australia next week before returning to New Zealand to open up the brand new stadium for Super Round. Crusaders $1.50. They're 4.5-point favourites, the Crusaders over in Queensland. And the game total set at 57.5. Can the Crusaders keep obviously it was an emotional game last week, the final game at Apollo Projects, 150 games for Cody Taylor. Can they keep that, I guess, emotional high that they had from last week? Can they keep that and let it flow into this weekend?
Yeah, mate, I feel the All Blacks get a bit of a raw deal coming back into the competition. They've only been at training for a couple of weeks before the kickoff of the comp, so it generally takes the Crusaders who have a lot of All Blacks a bit of time to get running. And I sort of felt last week, those bigger players stood up. Will Jordan looks very, very good again. So I think both teams have won 4 from 7 this year, the Reds and the Crusaders. So they're on par, but I just think the Crusaders have found another gear. The bigger boys are playing well. Both teams will be desperate to win. I just don't think when push comes to shove, I really don't think the Reds have got it up front. And to get the Crusaders at $1.50, I find for the Crusaders that's a pretty good price, and I would definitely be on that $1.50.
I think the Force sort of showed everyone else how you go about taking on the Reds, and they did, and they they powered up the middle at times there, and the Reds really didn't have too many, I guess, responses in terms of that sort of power that the Force had up the middle. And we know that the Crusaders certainly have that power to play with as well. And then they've got those dangerous outside backs. Well, I'll tell you what, get on Will Jordan to score a try this week because he won't. I don't
because he'll be $1.04 this week instead of $1.03, eh, Paulie?
He'll definitely score this. Well, I'm picking he'll score this week, but those outside backs and Will Jordan, they've got the likes of Lester Fainga'anuku, Sevu Reece, Shea Fihaki. They've just got an abundance of riches out wide.
Yeah. I just think, the Force won by beating the Reds up front, and who's going to beat the Reds up front even more is going to be the Crusaders. So for me, this is the easiest pick of the round. I feel this match is the easiest pick. I really think the Crusaders will be just too big and too strong up front, and at $1.50, I think that's some pretty good value there.
All right, we should probably have a look at last week and what we did betting wise. And
we should.
We'll start with you, Steve. I don't have those figures in front of me here, but
I do.
So why don't you take us what your bets were through what your bets were last week?
I'm looking back at my notes and I'm seeing that I've put money on the Hurricanes at $3.50 to be the champs. I've put money on head-to-head, the Force at $4.20, which was a great little win. I put money on the Force at 13.5 points start.
At $1.90, yeah.
And I put some money on Narawa for scoring a try for the Chiefs, which he did not.
No.
And then the Force, I was Force 1-12, and they actually blew out 13 plus. So I missed that at $5.80. And then my big bet of the weekend, I said no to both teams scoring a try in the Fiji versus the Crusaders, where I thought last game, I thought the Crusaders might beat up hard, and it was a whopping $11. So I missed that one as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think when a team gets out to a big lead, that the game can sort of lose a wee bit of shape, and that would have played into the Fijians' hands. And so they did score a couple of very good tries. But, it wasn't the worst bet, to be fair. Both teams to score a try, no, at $11, even though Fiji, in the end, they scored, 26 points, wasn't it?
So I think they got 3 in the end.
Yeah. I had a look. I think Piti Wipu, I don't think he went too well. In fact, I think he picked the Drua plus 23.5 for his point start bet. No good. He might have gone with the Crusaders. Did he go with the Crusaders head-to-head, or did he go with...
Yeah, I think it was something weak like that, like at $1.02.
Yeah. And then who did he pick for his try score? I think he picked... he picked Cody Taylor. He picked Cody Taylor to score a try. So... Well, he was successful there, to be fair. I think that was his only successful bet. I think I was all around the Crusaders. I took the Crusaders head-to-head. I took the Crusaders minus 23.5, and I took the Crusaders 13 and over. And then I took Will Jordan to score a try. And the Crusaders scored 10 tries, and Will Jordan doesn't score one of them. You're hard done by, although Cody's going to be greedy and score 4, and then I think someone else scored a double, didn't they, for the Crusaders on the weekend?
Fiaki. I think Fiaki. Did Fiaki get a couple?
Fiaki? Yeah, I think he did. And was it Fainga'anuku? Oh,
Sevu Reece got one at the start.
Yeah. And this
he got one off a kick. Sevu Reece got 2.
That's it. And who was the last Crusader to score a try at Apollo Project Stadium? Can you remember?
No, but I can find out for you real quick.
I'll tell you who it was, because I thought, how the hell did that happen? It was
Lucy?
Yeah.
Calder.
Yeah.
Does that mean he gets the goalpost? Is that how it works?
Well, didn't Jeff suggest that everyone take a spade and some tools and that, and take a piece of memorabilia home with them? after the game. I'm not sure if that happened. In fact, I'm fairly sure it didn't happen. Otherwise, we probably would have heard about it on the 6 o'clock news over the weekend.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. We're gonna put a hungy down underneath.
Yeah. After the game.
Yeah.
Righty-ho. Shall we get to some betting this week then?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay. First up, your best head-to-head for the week, and there are some juicy odds in terms of the head-to-head matchups over this round of Super Rugby Pacific.
I thought the Crusaders at $1.50 was the best bet, mate. They don't often get odds up around there, and I think they should win and win comfortably. So $1.50, that's short for me, but I'll find some value at the back of this for everyone.
Gee, I was actually going to go the Crusaders myself, but no, not with. Maybe if there are only 3 games this weekend, I would, but no, I'll go somewhere else. I'm going to go with. Oh boy,
It's a tough round of they're tough games this weekend.
They are. Look, I'm going to go with the Brumbies at $2 to bounce back in the first game of the round against the Highlanders. So Brumbies to win at $2. What's your best line or point start for the week?
I'm going to go the same with the Crusaders. I just think Crusaders have got the Reds all over. So I think the Crusaders are -4.5.
Yep, Crusaders
point start.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chiefs -30.5. That's a lot of points in it. It's Moana Pacifica.
Yeah, it's hard because if they roll out the big boys, the Chiefs will win that by 60, 70 points.
However, if they decide to rest a few bodies,
yeah,
I'll stay away from that game. Look, I'm going to go with the Blues +5.5 against the Hurricanes. I think that might be a very, very tight game. And if the Blues do frustrate the Canes and stop them from playing their free-flowing style, I just think it might be a wee bit closer. So Blues +5.5 against the Hurricanes. Your best anytime try scorer for this weekend, Steve?
Amua. I just think there's going to be some tight niggle up front between the Blues. The Blues forwards will look to do a domination, and so will the Hurricanes. So I'm going to go the Rolling Moore, Amua. He's big and strong. He's looking in fine form. So he's my tip for the weekend to score a try.
Oh, well, I guess if Cody Taylor can score 4 last week, then Omua should be in for a chance to score 1. I'm going to stick with Will Jordan this week, and hopefully he will dot down for the Crusaders against the Reds in the final game of the round.
You only tip 2 people, Will Jordan or Carlos Tisano, and he's been injured. So you're on Will Jordan.
Exactly. Right. Your winning team and margin, best winning team and margin for the round?
I was a bit torn here. I'm going to go with what the heart says, and I'm going to go Blues 1-12 at $3.90.
Wow,
just because of their past record over the Canes, if they can keep that structure, 1-12, they won't be a big win by the Blues. I think it'll be a tight one, and at $3.90, that's a fair shout, I reckon.
I'm going to go to the Highlanders Brumbies game, and I'm going to take the try bet. I'm going to have either team to win by under 7.5. I think that will be an absolute humdinger that'll go back and forth with not too much in it. So either team, either the Highlanders or the Brumbies, to win by under 7.5. That's paying $2.30. All right, your best bet for our best bet bundle, and it's a small bundle this week with just me and you. So we might have to put the food out a bit.
That's why I'm going large, mate.
Yeah,
Fiji versus the Force, a draw, $21.
$21.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
The Fijians to score a try in the last minute, missed the goal for a draw. At $21.
They're down by 5 with under a minute to go. They score in the corner somewhere and miss a conversion.
Yeah, that's it. That's my crystal ball.
Oh my goodness. Look, I won't go as crazy as that, seeing as you've got a $21 shot. I'm just going to go with the Crusaders to lead at halftime and the Crusaders to win. Fairly easy. In fact, no, I will go Crusaders to win both halves. So they've got to score more points in the first half than the Reds do. Then they've got to score more points in the second half than the Reds score in the second half. So Crusaders to win both halves at $2.90. There we go.
I'll flick you a bit of cash, mate, afterwards.
Well, disappointed that you didn't have the moneymaker on this week. It certainly adds to the occasion.
I've got to get, mate. You got to get it up over $15 to get the money suit out. But if I get this draw home, mate, you'll see money suit. You'll probably see me on the news before you see me on this show next week.
I'll get the feeling you'll have shoes to match the old money suit as well. Rightio,
I just hope I have pants to match, mate.
What are you up to this weekend?
This weekend, I think we're heading away. We're going to head away up north, Mungafai for a nice little weekend with some friends. But I think there's some bad weather coming, so that may hinder plans a little bit. But yeah, that's the plan so far. Watch some footy on the TV, have a lock in, and put on some nice food, enjoy some good friends.
I was going to say you go out for a bit of fishing, but with the forecast that we're looking at, it's probably not the best fishing weather, to be fair. It's certainly not up north.
Nah, it's hunker down this weekend, I reckon, Paulie, which I'm probably due for, to be fair.
Pity Weepu, well, he's up your area somewhere. In fact, he probably got a house set for you if he's going to be up there.
I don't need that mojo in this house, mate. I'm on a roll. Let's keep it that way.
Righty-ho, I think that's about it. I'll be.
What about you, mate? What are you doing? Races?
No, I've got a very, very quiet weekend this weekend. I'll be checking out a whole heap of Super Rugby because there are some very, very juicy matchups this weekend. I'll be watching a bit of that, playing a bit of golf on Friday afternoon, hopefully.
Friday, all right. Yeah. Probably shouldn't mention that to work, mate.
Well, I've taken a day off, so
okay.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's all official. It's above board. But yeah, playing at Ortucky for a big.
The old day off work, eh?
No, we do we do it all above board here. We do things responsibly here, Steve. We take our leave responsibly. Yeah.
I was going to say you look a bit sick, mate. Maybe a little sore throat or something.
Oh yeah. Righty-ho. That's it for another week here on the Pick and Go. Thanks for tuning in and watching and or listening. We'll be back next week. I hope we'll have a few more friends next week. But until then, enjoy the footy and come back and join us on the Pick and Go.